I turned 39 this year, and for the vast majority of my adult life, I have felt like a ghost of my own family. You know the type, the one who is physically present in the photos but emotionally cropped out of the frame. This past Christmas was supposed to be the turning point. It was supposed to be the moment the ghost finally became solid. For the first time ever, I had a home that I was proud of. I'm an architect by trade, specifically focusing on historical restoration. For most of my 30s, I lived in construction zones or cram sublets, pouring every dime I made back into my business. My family called it floundering. I called it building a foundation. About 8 months ago, I finished my masterpiece. I bought a derelict floor in a former textile factory in the historic district. It was a gut renovation. I stripped it down to the raw brick, restored the original heart pine floors, installed floor-to-ceiling steel casement windows, and designed a chef's kitchen that was honestly overqualified for my cooking skills. It wasn't just an apartment. It was a portfolio piece. It was proof that I wasn't the failure they thought I was. To understand why this mattered, you have to understand the cast of characters I call my family. First, there are my parents, Marcus and Sylvia. They are the definition of champagne taste on a beer budget. Except they've managed to fake the champagne lifestyle for decades. They are obsessed with pedigree, presentation, and the perception of wealth. To them, success isn't about what you build. It's about what you buy. Then there's my older brother, Julian. He's in venture capital, which is a fancy way of saying he gambles with other people's money. He drives a Porsche that he leases, wears watches that cost more than my first car, and has a smile that looks like it was calibrated in a wind tunnel. And finally, my younger sister, Bella. Bella is, well, she's a lifestyle curator on social media. She's 32, beautiful, and completely helpless. She believes the world owes her a living simply because she graces it with her presence. For years, family gatherings were a blood sport. The venue was usually my parents' overly cluttered, dusty Victorian house where the heat never quite worked. The main event was the roast of Liam. Liam, are you still living in that construction site? Marcus would ask, swirling his scotch. Liam, when are you going to get a corporate job like Julian? Sylvia would sigh. Liam, you look like you cut your hair with nail clippers. Bella would giggle, Liv streaming her reaction. I stopped going for a few years. I told them I was busy with clients. The truth was, I was busy saving my sanity. But this year, with the law finished, I thought, asterisk, this is it. I'll host Christmas. I'll show them the reality of my life. They'll see the success, the style, the stability. They'll finally respect me. Asterisk. I sent the invites in October. A group text. Hosting Christmas at the new loft. Dinner served at 4 p.m. The responses were immediate and skeptical. Sylvia, do you have enough chairs? Real chairs, not paint buckets. Julian, is there valet? I'm not parking the Porsche on the street in that district. Bella, is the lighting good? I need content. But they agreed. I spent 3 weeks prepping. I didn't just clean, I curated. I bought a 12-foot Christmas tree that brushed the exposed industrial beams. I hired a caterer to handle the sides, so I could focus on the prime rib. I bought expensive wine, the kind with dust on the bottle, not a twist-off cap. I polished the concrete countertops until they looked like black mirrors. Christmas Eve arrived. The loft smelled of rosemary, garlic, and pine. The ambient lighting was perfect. I was wearing a new tailored suit. At 3:45 p.m., I poured myself a drink and waited. I felt good. I felt arrived. At 4:10 p.m., the buzzer rang. They came up in the freight elevator, which is actually quite chic, restored with brass fittings. But as the doors opened, the first thing I heard was Bella's voice. EW, it smells like old metal in here. Are we getting tetanus for Christmas? They walked into my living room, my sanctuary, and the silence was deafening. But it wasn't the silence of awe. It was the silence of judgment. Sylvia didn't take off her coat. She stood in the center of the room, clutching her pearls like she was in a war zone. She looked at the exposed brick walls, sandblasted and sealed, a feature people pay thousands for, and wrinkled her nose. "Oh, Liam," she whispered, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "I didn't realize you were still in the demolition phase. Did the contractor run off with your money? I forced a laugh. No, Mom. It's an industrial loft. This is the aesthetic. It's original 1920s brick. Marcus walked over to the massive steel windows that looked out over the city skyline. Drafty, he grunted. You're going to pay a fortune heating this barn. It feels like a warehouse. Where's the warmth? Where's the class? Julian breezed in, tossing his keys on my Italian leather island. Nice bachelor pad, little brother. Very distinct. A bit serial killer chic, isn't it? Do you have to worry about rats in a place this old? No rats, Julian, I said, my smile tightening. Just high-end security and polished concrete. Bella was already on her phone, panning the camera around the room. Hey, guys, she said to her followers. So, we're at my brother's, project for Christmas. It's giving abandoned factory vibes? Should I be scared? She laughed, a tinkling, cruel sound. I think I saw a ghost in the elevator. Or maybe a hobo. I served drinks. I tried to pivot the conversation. I showed them the architectural awards on the shelf. Marcus used one as a coaster for his bourbon. We sat down for dinner at the custom walnut table I had designed myself. The food was perfect. The prime rib was medium rare. The wine was a 2015 Cabernet. This meat is tough, Sylvia said after one bite. It melted in your mouth. And the plates, are these slate? Like roofing tiles? Do we not have porcelain? It's a modern plating style, Mom. I said, my grip on the silverware turning my knuckles white. Then came Aunt Verna. I haven't mentioned Verna yet. She's my mother's sister, a woman whose primary form of sustenance is the misery of others. She looked around the loft, chewing with her mouth open, and said, You know, this neighborhood used to be the red light district. I wouldn't be surprised if this building was a brothel. Fits the decor. Kind of trashy, isn't it? The table erupted in laughter, not polite chuckles. Belly laughs. Julian wiped a tear from his eye. Oh, Verna, don't be mean. Liam's trying. He's always had that gritty taste. Remember when he drove that beat-up Honda? He likes things that are broken. I just worry about his safety, Sylvia added, dripping with faux concern. Bringing a woman here? She'd think she was being kidnapped. It looks like a place you take someone to make them disappear. Or a place where you cook meth. Bella chimed in. Seriously, Liam, is this safe? I feel like the ceiling is going to crumble on us. I sat there. I looked at the $3,000 worth of food and wine on the table. I looked at the home I had poured my soul into. And then I looked at them. They weren't just missing the point. They were actively trying to destroy it. They couldn't handle that I had built something real. Something that wasn't based on debt and pretense like their lives. They had to drag it down into the mud so they could look down on it. Is the wine corked? Marcus asked, grimacing. Tastes like vinegar. It's a $200 bottle, Dad. I said quietly. Well, you got ripped off, he sneered. Fits the theme of the night. Something inside me didn't snap. Snapping implies a break, a loud noise, a sudden reaction. This was different. This was a solidification. It was like concrete setting. The part of me that sought their approval, the little boy who just wanted his dad to say, good job, finally suffocated and died. In its place, a cold, mathematical clarity took over. I stopped defending the apartment. I stopped explaining the design. I just smiled. I poured them more wine. I offered them dessert, a handmade dark chocolate tart. A bit bitter, Bella complained. I like it, I said. It cleanses the palate. They left around 8 p.m. They didn't offer to help clean up. They grabbed the leftovers. Julian actually took the rest of the prime rib for his dog and walked out with a chorus of backhanded compliments. Thanks for trying, Liam, Sylvia said, patting my cheek. Next year, come to the house. We'll do it properly. Yeah, somewhere with carpet. Julian laughed. I locked the heavy steel door behind them. I stood in the silence of my beautiful, trashy loft. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I walked to my office, opened my safe, and pulled out a black accordion folder. You see, my family thinks I'm a screw-up because I don't flash money. They mistake frugality for poverty. They mistake silence for weakness. But while they were buying leases and appearances, I was buying leverage. I opened the folder and spread the documents out on the walnut table. Document 1, a promissory note from Marcus and Sylvia. 3 years ago, old money Marcus made some bad bets in the commodities market. He was facing a liquidity crisis that would have exposed them as frauds to their country club friends. I lent them $30,000 to cover the margin call. It was a bridge loan, they said, to be paid back in 6 months. That was 36 months ago. Document 2, a co-signing agreement for Bella's Range Rover. She needed a car to maintain her brand. Her credit score was in the low 500s because she forgets that credit cards are real money. I co-signed to help her out, under the condition she made the payments. Document 3, a loan agreement with Julian, the tech entrepreneur. 2 years ago, he needed $45,000 for seed capital for a crypto mining startup. He promised me a 20% return within a year. The startup folded in 4 months. He never mentioned the money again, and whenever I brought up, he'd tell me I didn't understand the risk profile of venture investing. Document 4, the deed to the family's lakeside cottage. This was the nukes. My grandmother left the cottage to me and Marcus jointly. She knew Marcus was reckless, and she trusted me to keep the property in the family. I own 50% of the asset, but Aunt Verna lives there, rent-free, courtesy of Marcus, who likes to play the benevolent patriarch with my equity. I looked at the papers. Then I looked at the empty wine bottle that Marcus had called vinegar. Okay, I said to the empty room. Let's renovate. I took the weekend off. I didn't answer the family chat, where they were sharing photos of the dinner with captions like, "Surviving the bunker, LOL." On Monday morning, the bank holidays were over. I went to work. Not on buildings, but on them. I logged into the financing portal for Bella's Range Rover. I had checked it periodically, but I did a deep dive. She was 3 months behind. Again, I had been getting the automated emails, but I usually just texted her. She'd make a partial payment, and we'd cycle on. Not today. I called the bank. I spoke to a very helpful escalation manager. I explained that I was a co-signer, and I want to be removed. You can't be removed unless the primary borrower refinances, the agent said. I understand, I said, and if the primary borrower is in default, well, sir, we would move to repossession. I see. And if I were to inform you of the vehicle's current location and explicitly state that I will not be covering the missed payments this time. The agent paused. We would initiate recovery procedures immediately to mitigate loss. Excellent. She's at a spin class until 11 a.m. Here is the address of the gym. I drafted a formal demand letter to Julian. I didn't use a lawyer yet. I wanted him to know it was me. I attached a copy of our contract. Yes, I made him sign a contract, which he mocked at the time as cute. Asterisk, Dear Julian, per the terms of our agreement dated August 14th, 2022, the principal sum of $45,000 plus accrued interest of 6% is now past due. The total outstanding is $52,480. Please remit payment in full by January 30th. Failure to do so will result in legal action regarding your breach of contract. Asterisk. I sent it via certified mail and email to his work email, where his compliance officer might see it. This was the hardest one, emotionally, but then I remembered the brothel comment. I called a real estate attorney who specializes in partition actions. I want to force the sale of a jointly owned property. I told him, it can be a long process, the lawyer warned. Is the other party willing to buy you out? They don't have the cash, I said. They're house rich and cash poor. They'll have to sell. And the tenant? Aunt Verna? No lease. She's a guest. When the petition action is filed, we can issue a notice to vacate, to prepare the property for market. It's going to be a nuclear winter at your next family gathering. The lawyer joked. I'm counting on it, I replied. The first domino fell on Wednesday. I was in a meeting with a structural engineer when my phone started vibrating off the table. Bella. 5 calls in a row. Then the text. OMG, Liam, pick up. My car is gone. They stole my car at the gym. Wait, the cops say it was repoed? Why didn't you pay it? I waited until lunch to reply. Liam, you're 3 months behind, Bella. I'm not paying for a car I don't drive. I told the bank to come get it. Her response was a voice note, mostly screaming. You did this on purpose. I am stranded. I have a brand partnership meeting in an hour. I look like a loser. How could you do this to family? I didn't listen to the whole thing. I just texted back, asterisk, maybe take an Uber. I hear they have cars that don't smell like old metal, asterisk. Thursday was Julian's turn. He didn't call. He showed up at my office. He breezed past a receptionist, his face an interesting shade of crimson. What is this? He slammed the demand letter on my drafting table. Are you insane? You sent this to my work email? HR flagged it. My boss asked if I'm having liquidity issues. I didn't look up from my blueprints. Are you having liquidity issues? You owe me 50 grand, Julian. It was an investment. Investments fail. That's the game. No. I corrected, finally locking eyes with him. It was a loan. The contract says loan. The term sheet says repayment. You gambled my money on a crypto scam and lost. I want it back. I don't have 50 grand liquid right now, he hissed, lowering his voice. My assets are tied up. Then sell the Porsche. It's a lease. Then sell your watches. Sell your stocks. I don't care. January 30th, Julian. Or I file a lawsuit. And unlike you, I keep my receipts. Imagine what a public lawsuit for unpaid debts does to a venture capitalist reputation. He stared at me. For the first time in his life, he looked at me and didn't see his little brother. He saw a shark. You're doing this because of Christmas, he said, shaking his head. You're being petty because Mom didn't like your curtains. I'm doing this because you people mistake kindness for stupidity. The interest is accruing daily. Get out of my office. Friday was the main event. I received a call from Marcus. His voice was trembling. Liam, we just got served legal papers. For the cottage. Hello, Dad. What the hell are you doing? Forcing a sale? Verna lives there. That house has been in the family for 40 years. I own half of it, Dad. And I want my equity out. I have a new project I want to fund. You can't do this. We can't afford to buy you out right now. I know. That's why we have to sell. The market is high. We'll get good price. Verna will be homeless. Verna can move in with you. You have that big house with all the empty rooms. Or maybe she can find a loft in the industrial district. I hear it's up and coming. Liam, stop this. This is madness. You're destroying this family. No, Dad, I said, my voice dead calm. I'm just renovating it. I'm stripping away the rot. The weekend of silence was heavy. The group chat was dead. No memes, no isnark. Just fear. On Sunday morning, a new group text appeared. Marcus. Family meeting. 2 p.m. Mom and Dad's house. Mandatory. I replied, asterisk number 2 p.m. My place. If you want to talk, you come to the rat trap. Asterisk. There was a long pause. Asterisco Marcus. Fine asterisco. They arrived at 1:55 p.m. The dynamic had shifted entirely. They didn't strut in this time. They shuffled. The loft was the same, imposing, industrial, beautiful. But this time, they weren't looking at the brick or the pipes. They were looking at me. I didn't offer drinks. I didn't offer chairs. I stood behind my kitchen island, leaning against the polished concrete. Well, I said, Sylvia was crying. Actually crying. How can you be so cruel, Liam? Bella has been crying for 3 days. Julian is terrified of losing his job. Verna is hysterical. And you? I asked, how are you, Mom? I'm heartbroken, she sobbed. That a son of mine could be so vindictive over a few jokes. Is that what they were? I asked, jokes. Of course, Marcus bellowed. We were just ribbing you. That's what families do. No, I said, that's what bullies do. Families support each other. Families say congratulations. Families don't call their sons home a brothel. I didn't mean it literally. Verna shrieked from the back. She had tagged along. I was just making conversation. Your conversation cost you your free housing, Verna. I said, I hope it was worth it. Julian stepped forward. He looked tired. Okay, look, we get it. You're mad. You made your point. You flexed. Now, can we stop the bleeding? Withdraw the lawsuit. Call the bank for Bella. And the money you owe me? I asked. I'll pay you back. Julian shouted. Eventually, when the market turns. No, I said. The word hung in the air. Here's the reality. I continued. I have spent my entire life trying to buy your affection. I lent you money. I co-signed your loans. I kept the cottage off the market, all so you would look at me and see an equal. But you never did. You saw a resource. You saw a doormat. I pulled a folder out. This stops today. I am not your bank. I am not your punching bag. And I am certainly not a failure. So, what do you want? Bella whimpered. I need my car back. You can't have it back, Bella. It's gone. You have to pay the balance or declare bankruptcy. That's a lesson in finance. You're welcome. I turned to Julian. I want a cashier's check for $10,000 by Friday as a good faith payment. And I want a binding payment plan for the rest, notarized, automatic withdrawal. If you miss one payment, I filed a suit. I turned to Marcus and Sylvia. The loan you owe me, the 30 grand? I'll forgive it. They looked up, hopeful. I'll forgive it in exchange for you signing over your portion of the equity in the cottage. You sign the house over to me. Fully, I become the sole owner. I evict Verna. I sell it, and I keep the profit. That house is worth $500,000. Marcus shouted. Your share of the loan is a fraction of that. Then pay me the 30 grand. Today. Marcus turned purple. He didn't have it. We both knew he didn't have it. You have two choices, I said. We do the petition sale, which will take months, cost you thousands in legal fees, and expose your financial dirty laundry to the public court records. Or you sign it over quietly. You lose the asset, but you keep your reputation. You're blackmailing your own parents, Sylvia whispered. I'm calling it a debt, I said. Business is business. Isn't that what you always told me, Dad? It's not personal, it's business. They stood there in the silence of the loft. The sun was streaming through the steel windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. It was beautiful. You have until tomorrow at noon to decide, I said. Now, please leave. I have a date coming over, and I need to air the place out. It smells like desperation in here. That was 6 months ago. The fallout was spectacular, messy, and ultimately cleansing. Bella lost the car. She had to take a job as a receptionist at a dental office to pay off the remaining balance on a loan, so she wouldn't be sued by the bank. She takes the bus now. She hasn't posted on Instagram in months. Julian sold his watch collection and downgraded the Porsche to a used sedan. He paid me the 10 grand. He sends me $1,500 a month like clockwork. We don't speak, but every check is a little apology note. Marcus and Sylvia fought me. They tried to find a lawyer to block the transfer of the cottage. But when I threatened to release the details of Marcus's gambling debts to the wider family, they caved. They signed the deed over. I evicted Aunt Verna. She called me every name in the book. I hired movers to put her stuff on the curb. She lives in a spare bedroom at my parents' house now. I hear it's very cozy. I sold the cottage 3 months ago. The market was hot. I cleared $250,000 after taxes and fees. I used that money to start a new project. I bought the floor above my loft. I'm turning it into a studio space for young architects who can't afford the city rents. A place where people build things instead of tearing them down. I spent Christmas alone this year. Well, not alone. I was with my girlfriend, Sarah, a chef who thinks the exposed brick is romantic and loves the kitchen. We cooked a turkey. We drank the expensive wine. We laughed. My phone buzzed a few times. Text from my mother. Asterisk Merry Christmas, Liam. We miss you. Asterisk. I didn't reply. I walked over the window and looked out at the city lights. I thought about the ghost I used to be. He's gone now. The man standing in the window is solid. He has boundaries. He has respect. And most importantly, he has a home that is entirely, undeniably his. And if anyone thinks it looks like a factory, well, they're right. It is a factory. It's where I manufacture my own happiness. And business is booming.